Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I'm going to speak today on the subject of victim mentality is an anchor around your neck. That's sort of an intense title. I was out yesterday boating, and day before yesterday, and we did have an anchor, and we'd get to a cove and we'd throw the anchor overboard. Wasn't huge, but if you'd have had it wrapped around your neck, it would have been bad news for you. And really, that's what victim mentality is. Probably in my career of being a therapist for now 27 years, there's been usually about 20% of the people who come in my office who just aren't able or ready to do the work. They might have defenses, psychological defenses that are just too thick, or they might be shame-based or defensive. But many of them, the reason they're not teachable is they're too locked into positions of victim thinking. And they end up having a persecuting mindset, and they're stuck on blaming their spouse, blaming their children, blaming their bosses, and they don't really own their own stuff. So you could say, well, Mr. Therapist, all you do is teach people to blame their parents. Well, no, sir, I don't. What we try to do in therapy and recovery is we try to name the truth about what occurred. In adult life, as you look back, even your parents, they haven't victimized you in your adult life. If you feel that way, it's because you empowered them to do so. Now, for most of us, almost all of us, our parents in some ways did abandon us or not meet our needs well enough or abuse us in subtle ways. Not the big, horrible, scary things, but, yelling or criticizing or, not accepting us enough. So it is something that almost all of us, go through, but nobody gets victimized in your adult life. It's very rare. If you're unfortunate enough to have been in the Twin Towers when the airplane, and if it drove into your office space and you were killed instantly, you were victimized. But that is very rare. It happens, but almost all of life, 99.9% of life, we create for ourselves. So it's really sad to watch people who are engaged in mortal combat against the world, and they stay locked in their prison of victim thinking, victim mentality. Unfortunately, we at Family Tree or any therapist, you can't help somebody who's too well defended, too arrogant, too defensive, and too much of somebody who thinks like a victim. No therapist can. The best therapist in the world won't be able to do a thing with them. So they're clinging on to their roles as victim, and they just cannot understand that they haven't been victimized. And until they do, then these really young people are going to drag their bitterness and their blame shifting and their victim spirit around their lives like a huge anchor. And you've known people like this. Somebody whose husband left them for another woman 20 years ago, but they're still bitter and they're still talking about it. You know what? Move on. You're an adult, and you picked somebody who had that character. and bad things happen in life, learn from it, and go out and make yourself a great life. Don't dwell in victim thinking. People who are in recovery and who own their issues, they assertively set boundaries with whoever has had the misfortune of attempting to violate them. You know, somebody who's assertive and healthy, it don't pay to mess with them because they're going to have boundaries, they're going to have consequences. The consequences are going to have teeth. And they don't sit around and whine and cry and blame shift and triangle. Many years ago, our very first office at Family Tree was on a street called 3rd Avenue Southwest. And in 1989, it was a bean field. We have a beautiful facility called the Palladium in Carmel, Indiana, where a lot of famous people come and do concerts. But it wasn't there in 1989. Nonetheless, the speed limit was 30. And every chance I had, I was going about 55 on that road, 3rd Avenue Southwest, because I was in a hurry. And I got pulled over 3 times back when my office was on that road, and I didn't get a ticket any of the 3 times. I got a warning. And the police would pull off out of my view, and I'd be right back up to 50 or faster because there wasn't any consequences. And healthy people, they have boundaries, and if you violate their boundaries, unfortunately, they're going to let you have a bad and a hurtful consequence that you've chosen for yourself. So these people, they take responsibility for their lives with positive, affirming attitudes towards others, and they don't run from or bury painful childhood issues that for most people, your life is being dictated. If you haven't dealt with your unresolved childhood issues, you'll be surprised to find that your life actually is being dictated by those unresolved childhood issues. That's a fact. So people in recovery courageously face off with themselves and their childhood pain, and that results in them being healthier and them having more blessed and more manageable lives, far from being victims during the counseling sessions of non-victim people in recovery working on their issues. These psychologically open individuals, they have the refreshing innocence of a very vulnerable, deep, authentic, healing, precious little kids. A little kid is in them. Many times people come in and they're angry and they're critical and they're bitter, and I look at them and say, there's a wounded little kid at your core. And you know what? They almost always tear up when I say that. I'm about tearing up when I'm saying it now. They almost always tear up, and many times they say, yeah, I know that. I know that there's a sad, wounded little kid at my core. And those wounded little kids cry tears from week to week as they come in and really face off with themselves. They have a lot of guts. They have a lot of courage to re-experience the childhood pain that's still searing them on the inside. And they assertively name what happened to them in their childhood. And then they confront respectfully their parents, and they say, hey, Mom and Dad, this is what my experience was in my childhood. And then they work through that pain and anger, and they forgive their parents, and they move on with their lives with a whole lot less baggage to impact and dump on the next generation. So I encourage you to really understand how your childhood impacted you. We've got almost, I think it's 246, 47 videos that you can watch, and you can learn about how your childhood impacted you. But there's nothing about Family Tree's message that lends itself to, oh, poor you were victimized. No. It is, you're normal. Almost all of us get bumps and bruises of significance in our childhood. And the good news is you can learn, you can cry, you can heal, you can take the lemons that you get in your relationship and you can make some darn good lemonade. And you can heal your childhood wounds. And I tell people, we're not going to remake you. You're not going to be blissfully happy and find the perfect relationship. You're going to find somebody as crazy as you and as crazy as your family. But by doing the work on yourself, what you can do is find something that works. And there are more windows of heaven than there are windows of hell. And if you say, but I want bliss, then I'm going to tell you, you're probably a relationship addict and you're headed for trouble. Because you have expectations that are just not realistic. So life is a challenge, and your relationships are there to heal you and to teach you. And as you piece together who you are and where you came from and who you married, and you get in front of a good therapist, we have 4 or 5 of us that take Skype appointments. And some of us are more expensive than others. My sessions are $175 a session. And but we have interns, we have people new to therapy, we have people that have a lot of good experience, but their fee is more like $100. But we're here to help you. And with the magic of Skype, you don't have to settle for the insurance-based counselor down the street who hasn't done their own work, who they're going to try to fix your marriage and they're not going to try to help you fix you. And it's going to be a waste of your time and a waste of your money if that's what they do. So encourage you to join our channel at Family Tree Counseling on YouTube and learn as much as you can. The cool thing about our videos is you can have really hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of free therapy. Many times I'll get a new client and I'll go to tell them my stories and they're like, I already heard that on your video. I myself, I think this video here is my 100th video that I've made. So I'm celebrating today my 55th birthday, and I'm celebrating my 100th video. And probably by the end of the day, we're going to have 1,000 subscribers to our channel. So thank you for watching today. I encourage you to get that anchor from around your neck. You can make your life what you want it to be. You can have a blessed life, but it starts by taking responsibility for your whole life and to not have a victim mentality and to heal and connect with that wounded little kid at your core. So thank you for watching, and God bless you.